Hi everyone, my name is Heather and I'm Audrey and Kate's mom, and I'm also the person behind happypuppytruffles, and I wanted to share with you guys a little video about what it's like to get ready for a typhoon in Japan. And we just had a pretty big one that came through, and usually where we live in Kyushu, they aren't so often in the path where we get hit that directly by them. But this time it actually kind of really was going straight at us, so we were kind of surprised by that. And we had one just a couple days ago too, before this one came, and that one was fairly big too, so it was a little surprising to have kind of a bunch of them there in a row. But basically, if you've lived someplace obviously where you've had to deal with hurricanes, or if you've had to deal with typhoons, depending on which part of the country you're in, you'd be familiar with what you have to do for these things. But for me, being from Colorado, it was a little different kind of thing to get used to. But as I've been here longer, I've been living here for 20 years now, I kind of know what to do. But so a lot of people have wondered, what it's like building up to it and all those kinds of things. Usually, because we have such advanced technology now, you have a pretty good idea of when the storm is coming, from which direction, how big it'll be. Usually they start out really strong, and as they get closer to hitting land, they do weaken up quite a bit. We have things in our homes in Japan that are, part of what is done to prepare people for typhoons. So there's storm windows, which, growing up in Colorado, we never used. So they're usually just a, kind of metal sort of sliding kind of door that you can pull over windows to protect them. The house we live in happens to have them on most of the rooms where you would have one normally, especially anything that's facing a direction where wind could be strong. They can be sliding types that lock down, or some type that pull down, sort of like you might see, that are similar to the stores closing things that they have at the mall. Those kinds of doors too. So we go around and close all those when we know that the storm is coming soon. And, you don't close those too early because it makes the house really dark. So we usually kind of watch the weather. It can be really rainy right before, and then right before the storm is coming, it calms down and goes completely silent, and strangely no rain, no wind. And then that's probably a good time to make sure that you have everything closed. So we made sure to have all of our storm windows closed, and this time, because it was bigger, we made sure also that we do have a couple of windows that don't have a storm window, and in that case you want to tape them up if you can. So there's a pattern, there's a whole bunch of suggestions of different patterns, but basically you definitely want to protect the center, do a crisscross, maybe border with a crisscross, or a snowflake variation, different kinds of pattern variations. And they have tons of that on the internet if you want to check to see what you're supposed to do for that. Or you can get those window treatment kind of stickers to make things little patterns and stuff like that. If you put that on there, it's good. It just helps the glass from shattering and making a big mess. It's not going to stop the window from breaking, but it makes it easier to pick up is the point. So this time around, we saw the local elementary school I'd never noticed before. They had tons. They'd gone through and put the big X's on all their windows. So they were actually anticipating it to be pretty big. So, but you do all of that to get ready. The storm hits. Usually it lasts between a couple hours to, maybe half the day, and then it moves on, and you're done with the worst of it. The wind is usually really strong. The rain is very bad, and because the wind is so strong, of course, you want to make sure anything outside is put away. We put away all of, the dog toys, all of the things that we use in gardening, all of the entryway mats that we have for coming into the house. We take all those and put them away. If you forget to do that, then you are very sad to try to find your entryway mat 8 blocks down. So you gotta make sure you're ready for it. And then the other thing we have to be careful of is that there's always a possibility that the electricity will go out. If the electricity goes out, sometimes the electric company does that on purpose because they want to avoid accidents and troubles, so they turn things off for a bit. Not a big deal. The lights going out is not a big deal, except that obviously a lot of times typhoon season starts in the end of August and goes all the way through to November, and September is still really hot. So If it's really warm, you could be really uncomfortable. So you have to be ready for that. Another thing is that sometimes water will get turned off, and so that was a big worry this time, is that if the water got turned off, and if the water is turned off, then obviously you can't use your toilets, you can't have any water for washing dishes, washing your hands, those kinds of things. So we would prepare by, even though our water, you can drink our fountain water here, you know, lots of people buy bottled water, so we have bottled water that we get usually for drinking purposes, and then we just fill up our tub with water for use in case the electricity, you know, the water is turned off, and that you can then use to flush toilets and things like that. So in the time that I've lived here, we've never had a storm really that made the water go away. We had construction that made the water go away for 3 days, which was lame. That was terrible. But so that, you know, but you get used to it, you know how to, you know, lots of things you can do to work around those things. So it's, if you're prepared, you're fine. But of course, when we know a typhoon's coming, everybody goes to the store, and you could tell that everyone knows it's typhoon time because all of the water is gone, all of the cup ramen is gone, everything is just cleared out. So you could tell that they've kind of taken rid of everything. Our stoves, depending on what your house is like, some stoves are electric and some stoves are gas. And so our natural gas. So ours, for example, in our kitchen is a gas run kind of deal. So even if the electricity goes out, we can still usually cook, which is nice. Obviously you have to hurry up and cook things before stuff goes bad in your refrigerator. But we've never, luckily where we live, we've never had, and I've never experienced multiple days where there's been no electricity. The most we've had was like a half a day. So that's massive. I know lots of people are struggling and have had a much worse go of it, and it can last a really long time. And so I hope everybody is okay and is safe and doing everything they can to get the things that they need. And I know that can be hard. So we've been very lucky in that sense. And then when the storm passes, you just open everything up again, let the air in, and clean up the mess outside and start putting everything back. So that's kind of, you know, basically how they go. It's not, you know, it's not that much different from other things. You know, tornado, you probably would, you know, when we had tornado drills, you know, we go all to the basement and hang out down there. There's a chance your electricity will be gone, you know, kind of things, similar things. But certainly if a tornado hits you right directly, your house is gone. Usually a typhoon can't, you know, they do mess up houses pretty bad. They're just like hurricanes. It's just that getting that much wind strength is pretty hard by the time it gets to land, that it stays that strong. So, but so when we had this one, it was, you know, we have a 2-story house. So when we were sleeping upstairs for the first storm, it was really loud because those storm windows are really loud when they shake, and then things hitting the house are very loud. So little pieces of tree and stuff, that could be very loud. And when we slept downstairs, it was like really quiet. So we could hear things. And I know if we'd been upstairs, it would have been a lot louder. So that's always an advantage. They do offer an opportunity for people to do hinan, or to go to another place to hang out if they're worried. So that's really nice for older people who are living by themselves. They can go, and it's usually to some sort of a city-run building, and then they go there and they provide shelter, and everybody gets a little place for them to hang out. And you need to bring your own things, though. It's not like they provide food or anything. You have to kind of come prepared with your own stuff. But the idea is that you'll be in a place where they can take care of you. So that's a really nice thing that they offer too. And obviously, if you're in a place where you're going to be directly hit by a typhoon, they force evacuate you, tell you that you have to, well, not force, I guess, I don't know if they come in and drag you out. But they do tell you that you should leave. And on some of the islands that we have, because even though Japan is a bunch of big islands, there's also lots of little tiny islands. And so when something bad happens at one of those, like if they're in the direct line of a typhoon, then they try to get everybody out of there and evacuated to one of the larger islands before the typhoon comes. Especially this time they did that a lot because they knew it was coming in. So that part's nice to know everybody's taken care of and stuff. But luckily for us, where we live, we haven't had anything, such a bad thing happen from it, which is good, because it can be really kind of scary. But the things we have that we get ready for these kinds of things are similar for, earthquakes too. We try to have sort of a kit of stuff that we have that's full of things for emergencies. And so they had like a big list of things that are recommended that you should have in your kit. And I have like a big bucket here that's like from a old Hello Kitty gift. And it has my stuff in it for emergencies. So one of the things that they recommend you have is a kind of portable, a collapsible water jug. So I have one of those that I got at Daiso. So that's a good thing to have. It's not huge though. It's only 3.5 liters, but still you fill that up if you need it beforehand. And then inside, we have things like, let's see here, just going from the top because this is the way it's packed. Socks. You want to have pairs of socks. There's only 2 here, but you can use these, of course, for if there's shattered glass and you need something to protect your feet or your hands. So good thing to have is socks. And if it's cold, if this happens to be in the wintertime when things happen, that's sort of the way it is. It's an all year round, no season kind of deal. So another thing that is very recommended is to have gloves. And these are, strong, good working gloves that have a grip. So I have 4 pairs, one for everybody. So we have the yellow and the pink ones there. Good, important things to have. You want to make sure you have those. And let me see here. I'm going to put a table out here so I can put. I also always have some of these little calorie mates in here, and it's certainly not enough to make any difference. It's not like we'd survive forever on this. There's, 4 servings, and that's just for like a snack-like meal. So we'd only be covered for 2 meals for the 4 of us. But it's good to have them in here, and I go through every year, obviously, and throw out something like this because it has an expiration. So I don't throw it away. I give it to my mother-in-law, and she eats them before she goes to work. So, or we eat them here as a family. Let's see here. You also want to have a radio. So yeah, we have old school radio, and it still works. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, we're awesome. So you want to have a radio because something that's obviously that you can use to access stuff. Some more sort of calorie kind of snack bars. Anything that packs a punch with a lot of calories and has, doesn't taste so bad. We put those in there. So, one of the things I recommended was to have tape. So I have tape. You never know, And with the windows, if something had broken and we wanted to tape something up again with some cardboard, this would have been very helpful. So I have tape. Matches in a Ziploc bag so that they don't get wet. And, yeah, those you gotta keep an eye on because sometimes they can get weird if you have them too long. Big old box of Band-Aids because you probably are going to hurt yourself 100 times, right? But I have a lot of Band-Aids, so that's a good thing to have. If you have one of those little portable stoves, you need to have these guys so that you can have the gas powering for those. And we have one of those, so I have 2 of these in here so that we can have gas for that. I dropped something. Batteries. And I don't have all the batteries in here, so this is not actually that good. But I do have some of these guys here that are most often used for flashlights. But obviously for some more newer things and products that we use, we'd need something that's a little bit smaller. So we have a whole collection of batteries that are all rechargeable. So if we could grab them from upstairs, that would be good probably. Some coffee, because who doesn't need coffee, right? Oh, and I have 2 coffees. Yay. I have 2 coffees because that's good. And the one I have another bag that's like a sort of mini version of this, and in that there's green tea and Kate's favorite mugicha. So got to be prepared, right? We have some pocket wet wipes, so those are always good to have. And these I also change out a lot because they dry out, so you want to make sure that you keep new fresh ones in, so otherwise there's no point. You'd just be using a piece of paper towel. But I mean, that can be useful too. A magic marker. I don't know. Maybe you need it. You need to write a sign. Maybe. That's a good thing to have for an emergency. So, stuff that you wouldn't think you'd need. This is actually from the list of stuff that we'd need to have. So, This is disinfectant spray, so if you have a cut or something, it can make stuff go away for that, which is good. Bags, because you always need to be able to keep track of your trash and stuff if you're in a situation. So I have a bunch of fairly large trash bags here, so that's a good thing to have. And yeah, there's some more down there at the bottom. An aluminum sheet, good thing to have, right? You want to have one of these so that you can put it down on the ground. It's good because it keeps, you know, things with a certain temperature. It keeps the temperature right, so that can be a good thing to have, and it protects you on the ground. Another thing that's similar to that is these funny little ponchos, right? That's made out of a water resistant poncho here, which is a thermal insulated one. That's the big thing I was looking at. Keeps you warm. That's a good thing to have for an emergency. So we've got a couple of those. And really I probably should have 4, but yeah, I'll have 2 because I need a bigger Hello Kitty thing. They recommend having slippers. Funny, right? I mean, maybe if you lose your shoes or something, especially because we take shoes off all the time in the house. We don't have our shoes. It's good to have spares. So I have 4 of them, so that in case, you know, we lose our shoes and we don't only have our socks, then that can be a good thing to have. These are really great things to have. They're those little warm pouches that we use in Japan. You know, you open it up and it gets hot. All of a sudden you can keep it in your pocket to keep your hands and your body warm. So I got a bunch of those. And I'm dropping stuff. Another thing it said in that list that I thought was funny is an eye mask. Maybe because wherever you might be, it might be really stressful and hard to sleep. And so these kinds of things can help make you feel more calm. And I also have air cushions that inflate. So that's kind of nice, these little travel ones, you know, because then you can automatically have a pillow wherever you are. So that's cool. Got 2 of those. And some scissors, because you need scissors. Those are always a good thing to have. And a knife, because you need a knife. So I have a knife. And a bunch of candles. And these are just, you know, and actually I don't have that many in here. There's a few. But candles are good to have. And a compass. See, now we're getting to stuff that actually kind of makes sense, right? It's like, yeah, a compass, Heather. That makes sense. Compass. So a lighter. Whew, that looks like aged, doesn't it? It's like all yellow looking. I'm sure it's still fine though. There's still gas in it, so it's okay. These are common lighters that you see in Japan. And more Band-Aids, because obviously I thought that wasn't enough. And when I got the 100, that was a better deal. So more Band-Aids. And a whistle, because that's always a good thing to have in your emergency kit. Good thing, yeah. And then the last thing is some Q-tips. Who knows why you'd need it, but I got them. And then at the very bottom, I have a towel that's down there. So that's sort of like an extra bonus to keep everything safe and cushiony, but also the towel is useful. So those are kinds of things that are recommended for you to have in case of an emergency. And certainly, you know, you don't need coffee, but just anything though to have extra sort of snacks some places here and there, because you never know where you might be. And, you know, having something like a drink or having something like an energy bar could be a really big thing if you're stuck somewhere during an earthquake or during a typhoon and you can't get out right away. So, you know, we have those around. And like I said, I have another similar kind of situation upstairs. It probably would be better to have it more like in a backpack kind of thing, because that would be easier to carry. There is a handle on this, and the container itself is really cool. You can use it for lots of things. So you could put a fire in there. It probably wouldn't last very long. But I think having these kinds of things and being prepared, though, is really a good thing. So when I was growing up in Colorado, my parents would always do fire drills and tornado drills with us when we were kids to get us used to what to do. And I think that can be a good thing to practice with your kids too, so they're not scared by things, and to know and understand what you're supposed to do at those times. But, you know, I think if you can try to have something like this, it's always a good thing. You know, growing up in Colorado too, we get used to having things like, you know, spare snacks and stuff like that in your car, because you just never know, you might get stuck in a snowstorm and then you're like starving. So it's pretty common to have, you know, some Snickers or something in your car too. So, you know, just those kinds of things. But that's sort of what I had in mind. It's kind of funny. Some of them are kind of funny. But then when you think about it, you're like, yeah, that could be really useful though. You know, especially if you watch any of those, you know, Walking Dead shows, you realize what would they most wish they had if they could have had anything. And so I have this perfect little container of things. And I think I had pretty much everything that they had on their list. There might have been a couple of things I just never got, because whenever those lists come out, it's right after a big earthquake and everyone's like freaking out. And so the supplies at the stores are just empty. You want to wait and make sure when it's off season and you go and try to find stuff. And I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of the stuff I got at 100 yen store too, which is a great place and way to get a lot of the supplies you need. You can buy these kits that supposedly feature everything that was in here for like $20 million. No, it's like more like a couple $100 probably. They might have like an actual full out, like that's one thing, yeah, I don't have, is like a really full out first aid kit. You know, I don't have like gauze or, I do have disinfectant spray, and Q-tips. So I kind of have like half of what you'd need, you know, but not perfect. So yeah, if you had a whole first aid kit, cause yeah. And obviously then like having medicines that your family takes and stuff is always a good thing to have in there too. So yeah. But that's basically kind of the stuff we have for ours. And that's just out in a room where we all know where it is. That's in a place easy to get to. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess I wanted to share that with you guys. This video is long. I'm sorry. But yeah, you guys wanted to kind of know what was like going on here. So I thought I'd tell you guys a little bit about it. And I'll have some more things to share with you guys in the days to come. I'm going to be putting more videos up on this channel, so look for that. And thanks you guys always so much for watching, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye. See ya.